Hey there, this is Seid, founder of Cascadia Workshops. I work with people who are committed to making a positive difference and who are also committed to their own personal growth and development. One of the things that we run into that's such an obstacle is when we have a huge vision, huge. It could be a very large plan. It could be just something really, really fun that you want to create with your life. It could be something that's like a 40-year plan. How do you break that down into doable, bite-sized, step-by-step pieces? Because even in a 40-year plan, there's still what you need to get done, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, as part of that 40-year trajectory. So I learned this really cool technique for how to do that, and it's helped me tons. And so I'd like to go inside my office and I'll show it to you. Okay, so here we are in my office, and I'm going to share with you this particular tool for taking a very large vision or project and breaking it down into component, bite-sized, doable pieces. I want to give credit where credit is due. I learned this particular methodology from Dave Ellis, who is a coach's coach, and he wrote a book called Creating Your Future, and he has a website called fallingawake.com. I invite you to look him up. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that my life direction for over 2 decades has been, and yes, I'm older than I look, has been researching, incorporating into my own life, and also reporting back on tools, processes, methodologies, essentially best practices for how to live in harmony within ourselves, with each other, and with the planet. So this is a methodology that I found really helpful because the people that I work with often have a huge vision, and yet their perceived ability for how to manifest that vision is here. And this is one of the tools that's been extremely helpful to me on my life journey, so I'm excited to share it with you. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to your calendar and block off a couple hours, is what I'd like you to do, where you can really dedicate a couple of hours to get this started and get it rolling. And what you're going to do is get some index cards, and I'll show you other ways to do it too, but just basically regular, index cards. And we're going to work with them like this, upright instead of sideways, because apparently your thinking is clearer and sharper when you're holding it like this. And I'm going to show you information that we're going to use these cards for. But the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, what do I want? And you're going to answer that question. And you're going to continue to ask yourself the question, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And each answer goes on a separate card. And I'll show you why. Now there's another way of doing this on a sheet of paper, or if you create a table in a document, where you'll just make a list. Just what do you want, what do you want, and you just write each item on a separate line. So these things could be as simple as I want to learn how to play the saxophone, or as huge as I want to see world peace in my lifetime. Or I have a friend who has a goal of one day on planet Earth, nobody goes to the hospital due to violence. So, for example, I want to get in shape, or I want to shoot this video, or I want world peace. Whatever you come up with that's answering the question, what do I want? Now that is a sacred question. What do I want? And the reason I want you to spend a couple of hours doing this, minimum, is because we're purging. And once you get all this surface level stuff out, or the things that are really strong and intense, we start to uncover kind of like deeper and deeper layers. And you keep answering that question, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And you keep writing down the answers. So on your index card, the way that that looks, and I already showed you a couple of examples, is in the center you write the what of what do you want. The next step is, after you've spent a couple of hours doing this, really purging all of those things that you want, is you're going to add here a level of priority. Now, A, B, C is a simple way of doing it.
You could get more detailed and do A plus, A minus, B plus, B minus, like that. But you'll put this in the upper right-hand corner. So after you've spent some time purging, then you go back and prioritize all those cards. Once you've done that, then I want you to pull all the A's. So everything, A plus, A minus, pull those out. We're going to work with those first. The next piece of information that you can add to those cards here is a timeline or a time frame or a deadline. There may be things that are really important to you, but your time frame for achieving those or for seeing them happen might be 15 years. I still want them there in your consciousness, in your index cards where you can see them and work with them on a daily basis so that you can start to work in that direction. But it's important to know, it's very useful to know whether the thing I want is in 5 years or within the next 2 years or whether it's next month. So that's an important piece of information. Now, couple other pieces of information that you will add is, here you'll add the team or the who. Like, who are your partners in making this happen? And over here in the lower left corner, we're going to add a category, or this might be a project, is another way of thinking of the category piece of it. So that might be, my project might be, dialing in my office space, or the project might be getting a new roof on my house. Whatever the project is, this is where you put that. So far, so good. If you're doing this on a pad of paper, you can add the priority level in the margin. That's where I like to put it. And then I create columns for the other pieces of information. So you could do it that way, do it on a table or in a spreadsheet. So once you've done this with all your high priority pieces, now here's where it gets really fun and interesting. I want you to take one of your high priority cards and I want you to ask the question, how? And so you keep asking how. I'll give you a real life example of a friend of mine. I had a little session with her, and at the time, what was really alive for her was she wanted to go to China and teach English. And so that's what was here, teach English in China. And we kept asking how. And so, okay, well, find programs that would allow me to join them to teach English in China. And then we stay with this top one and ask how of this one. So she lives in Seattle, so she thought about going to the University of Washington and meeting a professor in the foreign languages department. Okay, find people who have taught English in China and get information from them. Each one of these becomes a new what? Each one of these is now its own independent card with its 4 pieces of information in the corners. Then you can take any one of those and, for example, let's say that it's meet a professor from China in the foreign languages department at the University of Washington. So then, if that's the what that we're working with next, we keep asking the question how. So how would she meet a professor? Well, look up the directory of faculty in the foreign languages department, and like that. And then, again, for each one of those, asking how. Eventually, you get to that specific phone call or that specific email or that specific action, doable, concrete, simple action. And that's how you take this and break it down. And again, each one of these becomes an independent what. My assumption is that in the lower left corner, in terms of the category or the project, all of this has to do with teaching English in China. So that would be the project that she's working on right here. And you keep asking how, and it starts to break it down. Now there's another question that's really useful as well. And we did this, which is that we asked the question, why? How takes you this way, down. And why takes you this way, to sort of higher, broader levels, inquiring about purpose and the reason for doing it. Well, when we asked the question why, we created another card. And the what of that card, when she got clear about why she wanted to go to China and teach English, it was because she wanted to travel in a foreign country and she wanted to be of service. Once she realized that it was about traveling in a foreign country and being of service, then she realized, oh, I could be doing this in India or maybe somewhere in Latin America. And those became new whats that she could then ask how. Not all of these things was she necessarily going to take action on, but at least with the priority level and with the time frame, that helped clarify for her how to stage things and how to keep those things going. So then she could keep breaking those down into their component pieces. One of the things that I ran into as I was doing this process is I had learned a teeny little bit about permaculture design, but because I had so many things I wanted to do, my energy and my efforts were a little bit dispersed. And when I did this process, I realized that learning permaculture design was something that was both really high on my priority list, and I got clear it was something I needed to do sooner. And this process led me to giving myself permission to really go for it. And it was the following year that I did a permaculture design course on Orcas Island at the Bullock Brothers farm. And I would encourage you to look them up. It's an amazing site, and their courses are fantastic. So Trisha and I did our 4-week hands-on permaculture design course at the Bullock Brothers farm, and we had already begun our search for our dream property. One of my whats was finding my dream property. We wanted to start a learning center that focused on sustainability, skills and tools, where people could network, where we could create the potential for residential intentional community. And this really helped me get concrete both about the priority level and the time frame, and the actual land search that led us to find our dream property. I used a different methodology that I'll share with you separately from this video. The next step is to have a place where you can keep your index cards, where you will see them every day and you can interact with them. So if you're in the United States or Latin America or Europe, a lot of places have office supply stores that might have a little box that looks like this for storing your index cards. So I have this little box and I just store them like that, upright, and I can go through them and quickly look at the upper corners and see priorities and time frames. Or I can pull them out and spread them out on my desk and work on things, and then work from there based on my true honesty with myself about my priorities and when I want to see these things happen. So the final step in the process is revising your cards every day, really spending time with them and looking at your priorities and continuing to create new cards as you need them, and continuing to ask the question, how, continuing to allow the things that are really high priority for you to find manifestation by breaking them down into doable, bite-sized actions of this specific phone call, this specific conversation, this specific email, this specific document I need to create. And you'll find that over time, these larger projects and these larger visions are starting to happen. Now, there's another tool and methodology that I really value and appreciate, actually changed my life. And it's a book called Getting Things Done The audio is quite good too, by David Allen, Allen. And for those of you who are fans of Getting Things Done or GTD, there's another piece of information that you can add to your cards. Now, this doesn't come from Dave Ellis. This is something I did as, in a way, a synthesis of these two different tools, which is at the very top in the middle, I add something called context. Now, context in GTD, this other methodology, context is where something is actually actionable, where you can actually take that action. So for example, I have a context called phone that has to do with phone calls I might make. And so I can assemble all my cards that have to do with phone calls, and when I'm in the mood to make phone calls and be on the phone, I've got them right there. And they may have to do with various projects and various priority levels and various time frames, but I'm sort of batching them together. Or another context that I have is hardware store. So things I need to get at the hardware store, now I have them all in one place, and that's the context. I have another context called meetings with Trisha. So my wife, my life partner, we meet to discuss all kinds of things, and so I bring my list of things for that specific context, even if they're coming from various different projects or categories. So that's another thing you can do. It's optional, but I found it useful and helpful. Please feel free to contact me or my team if you have any questions, if there's anything that we can do for you. I do a lot of life coaching, and what I offer people is a free consultation. So look for that, leave a comment below, give me your feedback, let me know what I can do for you, how I can add value to the work you're doing, or how I can show up as a supporter or a blessing in your life. And signing off for now, Alan Seid with Cascadia Workshops. Thank you so much.